Hello everybody, it's Friday, that means it's time for another topic of the week. So, first things first, last week's topic on using your phone while hobbying. A lot of good responses there. What's fascinating to me is how much it is integrated into our life, and no video response showed that better than Paul Kunert's response. It's linked in the original video. Seriously, go watch it. Paul's a great dude. We did a hobby series sometime back before he got out. He's back now. He's doing more painting vids. They're fantastic. He's walking you through all sorts of different techniques and stuff like that. And his phone video is maybe the best thing I've seen on the internet. So, not to overhype it, but it's pretty good. So, check it out. Alright. But this week's topic, let's get on to something new. So this week has seen the reveal of a bunch of the allegiance abilities that are going to be coming in Firestorm. Now I'm sure we'll have a bigger topic in the future about what we think about Firestorm, but I thought we'd use this opportunity to sort of have a discussion about these very specific Firestorm allegiance abilities that have been spoiled. And as we talked about on the show this week, the way they work is they're sort of, if you have, it's, sort of compositional forces that are made up of the right stuff. You can then gain this allegiance ability in addition to your other allegiance ability. So if you're Stormcast, and Stormcast is a valid one for this allegiance ability, you can have all the Stormcast crap, and then you can also have this allegiance ability on top. And some of them have sparked some rather powerful shall we say responses? Implacable March, Day 2's, the Anvil Guard one being especially controversial, I think. So that brings us to this week's topic. One, what do you think of the ones spoiled so far? Okay. But what I really want to talk about is two, and that is your opinion on how and where these can or should be used. Now, they've said openly that these are for narrative and matched play. And I've seen a lot of people respond, these should only be for narrative or open or something like that. And that I don't like. That seems too restrictive. Like, I honestly don't know what I play. What I mean by that is we do games that have narrative setups and are often multiplayer, but we used match play points and match play rules. What am I playing? I'm playing a 4-player multiplayer game with narrative elements and all the match play trimmings and trappings. What am I allowed to use? Well, the answer is going to be, of course, at my table, whatever, right? And so that's part of your answer. Is, do you care that they're at your table? Now, one thing that's interesting here is that these are naturally slanted toward order. Like we've seen all of the various cities because they're all up on the website right now. And there are 7 of them for order and 3 of them for everybody else. Basically 1 chaos, 1 destruction, 1 death. And so everybody's like, oh, well, it's imbalanced. So we shouldn't, they're not as match play friendly. I'm not sure I buy that. Not everybody has allegiance abilities. For a long time, allegiance abilities were very tilted in certain directions. And there were vastly more armies that had full allegiance build-outs than didn't, specific allegiance build-outs here, as opposed to just using the generic ones. So I'm not sure that that's a good defense. Maybe there's a difference there, maybe there's not. I'd be interested in your opinion on that. But to me, I don't really care that they're more tilted towards order. What I would like to see is these be embraced openly, because I think they encourage people to build rather narrative, thematic forces. Now, there's a layer here. There's a second question hidden here. Because even if you say, okay, they say they're for match play, we're all on board for that, I'm going to use them in my personal games. Great. Then there's still another question, which is, should they be used or allowed or whatever in tournaments? And that gets to be a trickier question. Because they are sort of one more thing. They're one more thing that armies could take. Now, I don't know that they're a pretty small thing. Like, certain armies have extra spells right now, and other types of items, special prayers. Other armies don't have that. We don't disallow those prayers and banners and horns and whatever. Like, we still allow those, even though, like, 3 armies in the game have them. So, not every army has a lot of things, and yet we're still all pretty cool with opening the door to that. So, if you feel they shouldn't be used in tournaments, and I'm not saying you're wrong, because I'm not sure that they should or shouldn't. That's the point of this topic. Or, sorry, that's one of the questions of this topic. But I'm interested in what you feel about it. If you're a tournament player, do you want to see these used? Yes, no, why? I'm very interested in the discussion. And how often you participate in tournaments is probably an interesting component to add there. Now, for me, I think that's where the only controversy lies, of whether or not they're there, and these things are employed in tournaments. And in the end, the answer, by the way, in the end is, of course, whatever the TO says. Like, TOs are going to make decisions, they'll say you can use them or you can't, and that's the end of the story. So we already know the end of this book. But what I'm more curious about is the opinion, right? Is our feelings on if and why. Because here's the thing. When you're considering your answer, consider the fact that this is not the last time you will be faced with this. What I have asked for, what a lot of people have asked for, and certainly what they have said, is that there are going to be a lot more narrative elements in the game. That the game is going to be narratively driven. We've seen that with the armies that are released, with the stories that are set up. This Firestorm thing is itself a narrative response to last year's summer campaign. Right? So these things are going to keep happening. This will not be the last time. So if you're a player of destruction or death or chaos, and you feel like you're getting the short end of the stick here because Order gets 7 and you only get 1 or whatever, and that's the reason you don't want it, well, will your opinion change when Malign Portents comes out at the beginning of the year, which is clearly going to be a death-focused thing, and will probably have a bunch of death abilities, and maybe layered allegiance abilities or other special stuff for death that's tied to the narrative? Does that all not get allowed to get used? I don't know. So my point is, when you're considering and having this thought about Firestorm, to me, Firestorm is just the first in what will probably be a long series of these optional games. And I think we will get to a point where TOs have to be very careful about what they allow and don't allow, because the list could get so very long and egregious. Now, that's somewhere in the future, but there is a concern there, and I'm sympathetic to that one. With that being said, more is going to be coming, right? And whatever your particular army is, or whatever the thing you love is, chances are, if it's one of the sort of larger players in the narrative, you're eventually going to see some type of thing that looks kind of like this. And what happens then? And if we say no to some, where's the line? Where are we drawing the line? Like, what's the bright line we put our finger on and say, this is why I have justified my opinion. Everything on this side good for tournaments, everything on this side bad. So, there you go. That's the topic for this week. I know I personally am very excited about the new abilities, like the Undead Pirate thing that was you sort of released was super cool. I hope these inspire a lot of cool army conversions, and I don't want to see people do that and then not be able to play their army that they converted lovingly. That's really my major concern. It pretty much begins and ends there. I don't care if I lose a game as long as it's a fun person. And people who, in my experience, people who invest a lot of love and care into their army tend to be pretty fun to play against, because they, almost by their very nature, prove they love this game. Now, that's not exclusive. I've played people who put all gray models on the table, and they're also some of the best games I've played. So that's not an exclusive statement. I'm just saying it's a sort of sign, like many other things. So, there you go. Those are my thoughts, and I want to see yours. So drop the comments down below. Let's have a talk about it. As always, look forward to your responses. Every video response will be linked in this video, so you can always come back here and see all the video responses. Don't forget to go back and watch Paul Kunert's response from last week. It's linked in the video, in last week's video, which is, of course, linked down below. And as always, look forward to the talk, and we'll see you next time.